Okay, yeah, hold up real quick.
We're definitely not. Yeah.
Hang on real quick. I believe we're live. We're live. You all, what's going on? I wasn't gonna get on live today, but I just like spending time with you all. So on the phone here, I got Tony Reda of Tectonic Metals. He called me. I told him I was gonna get on live and everything. And so Tectonic Metals is a gold exploration, but you also dabble in mining too, correct?
We have, yes, certain members of the team have been involved in actual mining operations. One of my business partners, co-founder of Tectonic, is actually a CEO of a diamond mining company currently.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and I think we talked about it. Ira Thomas, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. I can't wait to get her on the channel. So I heard that you're gonna start drilling this month, and so what's that process look like when you start drilling?
For sure. Well, this is our first drill campaign on this project. It's been sitting idle for about 20 years now. So with every first campaign, there's a little bit of logistics involved. You're building a camp. Again, depending on the location, this is in Alaska. It's not next to a highway. There's no nearby town or village or convenience store. So you have to bring all those items in. Thankfully, we have a Herc-capable airstrip, and a Herc plane or Hercules plane is one of the largest payload planes out there. It can accommodate about 48,000 pounds of payload. You can drive a couple Ford F-150s in the back of it. So all of that is en route to site. Just the other day here, we are mobilizing our team. So that includes geologists, geotechnicians, cooks, drillers, pilots, everything to kind of operate what's needed for a fly-in, fly-out drill program. And as you alluded to earlier, we do expect our first drill to start turning in less than 2 weeks here, which we're obviously extremely excited about. The drill's commonly referred to in our industry as the truth machine. Mm-hmm. And the only way to find stuff in exploration is by drilling. That's the true test. And drilling's where you can create a lot of value. Your shareholders can make a lot of money. And at the same time, alternatively, it's also the riskiest and the costliest, and sometimes leads to destruction of value. So you got to know what you're doing and place your bets accordingly.
Yeah. So I was getting my terminology mixed up. So mining and drilling is two separate things. So when you're exploring, you drill, and then if you hit gold, you sell. Do you sell that to a bigger miner usually or whatnot? Is that how it works?
Typically that is the case. If you hit gold, that's a start. So you've identified that there's gold below your feet, metaphorically speaking. And then the next step is to figure out how much gold is there. So you have to do more drilling to define the geometrical shape of what the deposit is. Then you have to figure out how to get the gold out of the rock. That's called metallurgy. Then you have to get the rock out of the ground, and that's called mining. So that's the ability to get the mine, the ability to extract the rock from the ground is mining, and to do it profitably, obviously, not where it costs you money.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So you're losing money.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I see there's a few viewers on. So this is Tony Reda of Tectonic Metals. He was not planning on being on the show today. He gave me a call when I was about to go live, and so I just said, "Hey, you're drilling this month. Let's talk about your company and let's talk about the process." So, what was that process like when you drilled and then you hit gold? I remember you were sharing this conversation with me. And so what was that like? What did that feel like? What was that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously one of the highlights of my career. I've been blessed that, I've had multiple drill programs, and we've had varying degrees of success on all of them. But the biggest success led to our company being acquired for $520 million. That project was called the Coffee Gold Project. We acquired it. It was never drilled prior to our acquisition, so we did some preparatory work, which included some soil sampling, mechanical trenching, and then the following year, we drilled the very first hole on that property, and we actually hit gold and a very significant drill intercept or gold intercept on the very first hole, and that is extremely rare. Some of the major mines that have been found, sometimes it takes 50 to 89 holes or 90 holes to actually hit sort of what we call pay dirt. We were fortunate to do it on the very first hole, and that one drill hole led to 1,000 drill holes, $165 million coming into our company, which we then sold for $520 million, and we delineated or found 5 million ounces of gold, and the project still had more exploration upside. So that was in 2016 with the sale, 2010 was the drill discovery, and now a lot of key executives from that company, myself included, are back with Tectonic Metals to do it all over again.
Nice. And so even when you say you sold the company, I mean that it seemed like the shareholders probably, it panned out really well for them.
Yes. They definitely walked away with a smile on their face.
Yeah, that's good. All right, you all. Well, this isn't financial advice, but want to let you know that Tectonic Metals is starting drilling this week or this month, and be sure to check out Tony Reda. He's an awesome guy. This is the CEO of the company. So Tony, appreciate you for taking this impromptu conversation on YouTube Live.
Well, I appreciate the invite, and thanks for pushing me to do something impromptu. It's being raw and authentic is right up my alley, and yours as well. So this was great.
Yeah, I remember when you told me you had to speak at some conferences, and your old was a colleague or mentor used to put you on the spot, so you used to it.
Yes, he did. Yeah, exactly. You're right. Thank you for reminding me.
All right. Take care, man.
All right, take care.
All right. All right, you all. That was Tony Reda, Tectonic Metals. Tectonic Metals. We're gonna go take a look at their site. Tectonic Metals actually, so they are a gold exploration company. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna share my screen while we go over to their website. If you're tuning in with me, please drop a comment. For those of you that are joining us kind of late in the game, so pretty much Tony, I met him at the Rural Symposium. We built a really solid friendship, and so he's the CEO of Tectonic Metals. They trade on the Toronto Stock Exchange as well as the OTC markets, and they are starting drilling this month. And so you can see the tickers here. None of this is financial advice. And this is who they are. So this is the team. You all can go over to the website, check them out. So Tony's the founder, president, CEO. This is Ira Thomas, who is the founder and strategic advisor. She owns a diamond mine. And I believe she sells diamonds to Louis Vuitton and Tiffany & Co. All right, so these some big hitters right here. She's also director of Suncor Energy, which is a stock that I invest in. It's called SU on the stock exchange, and it's a oil company that is based out of Canada. So it's kind of interesting, just meeting the people that are behind these stocks that I invest in on the stock exchange. So it's pretty interesting. So this is Tectonic Metals. They start drilling this week, or not. I keep saying this week. It's this month, and just wanted to let you all experience that and hear a little bit about the process. Normally we get the gold coin in our hand, but there's a whole process that you can, engage in, to eventually get the end product. So I also have a unpacking to do. I want to show you all this. This is from, I'll just open it. I've been wanting one of these. Been wanting one of these. And here we go. Here we go. All right. Permanent distortion. How the financial markets abandon the real economy forever. Abandon the real economy forever. And this is by Nomi Prinz, Dr. Nomi Prinz. We're going to look her up. This is she signed it for me and everything. She is very well known. She was just on the Rich Dad show a few months ago. I mean, you got, people like Jim Rickards on here leaving a review, Robert Kiyosaki, and a few others. Let's see, Matt Tabai, Kirkus, Richard Wolff, Professor Richard Wolff. So I'm so excited for this. So an announcement, with that, Nomi comes on the channel next month. I will be interviewing her. So for those that don't know, let me go ahead and share my screen again. All right. And we're going to go look at her biography. Somewhat look at her biography, some of it. We're not going to look at all of it. So, Nomi Prinz, for those that don't know, this is her. So she's an economist, author, and a journalist, public speaker. She worked in the finance industry. She was the managing director at Goldman Sachs. She was the senior managing director at Bear Stearns in London. And she was the senior strategist at Lehman Brothers. And I believe she was at Lehman Brothers when they went under in 2008. And when Lehman went under, pretty much that triggered the financial crisis where the economic system was about to collapse. And she was an analyst at Chase Manhattan Bank. This was before they were acquired by JP Morgan. So she has many, many accolades. She was on Senator Bernie Sanders' panel of expert economists formed to advise reforming the Federal Reserve. So she is a heavy hitter, and she's coming on the show. We're scheduled for next month. So be sure to become a member so that you can get your questions considered for that interview. I mean, anyone can submit a question, but if you're a member, you get priority consideration. So just wanted to share that. So I don't know what y'all doing today. We had some people on and some people disappeared. Be sure to drop a comment if you are tuning in. I want to go over this article. I want to go over this article. All right. It's pretty funny. It's funny to me. So here we go. All right. Let me go ahead and get it over here. I hope that phone call, if that audio did not work, I may have to redo this live, y'all. Or just bring him on the channel through Zoom. All right, so here we go. We're going to go through this article. I'm saying Joe Biden believes there won't be a recession. His cabinet, his crew, they believe that it won't be a recession. For me, like I just interviewed, Mark Yusko, and Mark Yusko said, hey, we already had a recession, last year. He provided some solid points. That was good for me. I was like, okay, yeah, a lot of times I'm in the echo chamber. However, we can still see some downturns. So that doesn't necessarily mean we're clear out of the woods yet. All right. So this week in Bidenomics reminds me of Reaganomics, right? The disappearing recession. Joe Biden might actually get through his first presidential term without the recession forecasters have been predicting for much of the time he's been in office. Amid strong hiring, falling inflation, solid corporate earnings, and a stock market rally, recessionistas, That seems like an insult. I'm gonna have to look up this word, yo. Are starting to change their outlook. Bank of America got investors' attention this week with the research note headlined, "Imagine no recession. It's easy if you try." Here's the bottom line, according to B of A. What's out? Mild recession. What's in? Soft landing. All right. So they're saying that we're going to get a soft landing. Soft landing. I mean, I want to know who believes that, right? I want to know who believes that here. If you do, then cool. Provide your facts or whatever. And we all have to live with the results of what we believe, right? But, I don't believe that this is going to be a soft landing. We printed the most amount of money that we ever have in the history of the country, and we raised rates the fastest that we ever had in the history of the country. So, so yeah, I mean, that's just, I just don't think that ends, soft, right? A soft landing, for those who don't speak econo-geek, is an optimal outcome in which the Federal Reserve interest rate hikes get inflation under control without causing a recession or a notable rise in unemployment. The Fed is deliberately trying to slow the economy by making borrowing more expensive. And then you get the jobs reports, where it talks about the jobs reports are cooling. And so, and it talks about, wage growth picking up and some other things. So it says, Biden, however, faces a maddening problem. Voters seem to be giving him no credit at all for record job gains and improving inflation. Consumer confidence has improved recently, but Biden's approval rating mirrored around 41%, with no improvement at all during last year, even as the inflation rate has plunged. So Biden, they're getting inflation under control, right? And he still ain't getting no credit. So why aren't you all giving them credit? Right? I mean, the question is, do you believe the inflation rate that the government puts out? Do you believe the CPI? I don't. I mean, for me, like, my income is still being taken away a lot. I mean, as far as like, with gas prices, the cost of living has went up. The price of food has went up. I'm not getting as much for my dollars as I was before. Inflation's still hitting the average person, hitting everybody, really. So I mean, I just don't believe that the government's numbers, because they don't really factor in food and energy as much. And then they use owner's equivalent rent, which is pretty much like, if I'm an owner of a home, which I am, how much would I charge myself for rent versus like how much I would charge someone else rent. So that's what they factor CPI on, right? And yeah, so I don't know. But here's from Shadow Stats. So Shadow Stats actually, so the Fed, or the government, has changed the algorithms of CPI multiple times. And here's Shadow Stats, who uses the 1970s to 80s method of measuring inflation. So they use the old way of how they measured inflation back in the day when Paul Volcker and all of them were, around. So here's Shadow Government Stats. And pretty much it shows the inflation rate is at, so this is the CPI, which is down to about 4%. This is on the 1990s base model. So the government has refigured the way that inflation is calculated again, right? They recently did that They recently did that. And so shadow stats actually uses the old way of measuring it. So you can see here, inflation's at 7% if you're looking at the 1990s model of inflation. So let's see where it says I'm trying to find the actual numbers. I don't see it, but it's a little under the 8, so it's probably what, 7.5% versus like the 4% that the government is reporting. And then when you look at the 1980s version, I mean, you have the 4% that the government's reporting, but then the method they use to calculate in the 80s, inflation in the 80s, you're still looking at 12% inflation. So the question is, do you believe the government's CPI numbers, right? I mean, the article clearly said that Biden isn't getting the credit he deserves. He got inflation under control. I mean, it kind of sounds manipulative to me, especially when the numbers are rigged. The way they calculate inflation, they changed it, right? They're not using the old metrics of which was how a lot of people are comparing inflation to the 70s and 80s, but we're not even using the old metrics of how they calculated inflation in. And then when you use those old metrics of how they calculated it, inflation came down, but it's still high. And that explains why people are still spending a lot of money on food and energy and living and rent, things of that nature. So, yeah, I just don't believe the numbers. So drop your comment down below. If you think that the inflation numbers are real, if you think they are playing a game with us or what. But yeah, I always appreciate your opinions and what y'all have to say. Love engaging with you all. So you all take care. I'm gonna go ahead and sign offline. I hope that this was helpful. So y'all take care. All right. Peace.